Hi guys, welcome back to another interesting tutorial. I had this question from a subscriber. The person was actually asking me how to cut a man's trousers with elastic waist or a rope waist. So this video is going to address that. So to start with, I have my material here that I'm going to use in cutting the outfit. What I do when I'm working with Ankara like this, this video can also teach you how to manage your fabric. So the first thing that I will do is to take the fabric length that I want to use. Remember that most of this Ankara is usually 45 inches. So I'm going to take 60 inches like this. I'm going to measure out 60 inches to start working on my project. So 60 inches can be enough for nearly all the body sizes. So I have cut my 60 inches. Now I am folding it into two like so. After folding the fabric, this is what I have. I'm going to start my measurements right away. I'll start with my waistline first. So I'm going to mark my waistline. So let's assume this is my waistline. Not just assuming, this is my waistline. And I'm going to start from here. So I'll mark my crotch depth, 10 inches. I'm going to mark my knee line, 21 inches. Then my full length is 38 inches plus my bending allowance 2 inches. So that's what I have. So I'm going to repeat the markings on two places so as to have a straight line. So I'll mark everything that I basically marked out in the first place. That is my waistline, my crotch depth, my knee line, and the full length. So I'm going to connect it now. So this is my waistline, my crotch depth, my knee line, and my full length. So I have finished marking this other side. So let me pay attention to this. You see this yellow line? This is my start line. So all other measurements should start from this point, this yellow line. Because I've checked it is already straight. So that's where I'm going to place my measurement. So what I'm going to place here is going to be my hips line. This is my crotch line. So I'm going to place my hips measurement on this crotch line. And my hips is 40 inches. So quarter of my 40 inches is 10 inches. I'm going to add allowance of half inch for ease allowance. So this half inch will serve as my ease allowance. That's going to be 10.5. And whatever I mark here, that's the same thing I'm marking on this waistline, 10.5. And I'll go ahead to draw a straight line. I hope you can see the line that I have drawn out. So after marking this line out, what I'm going to do is to mark my crotch extension of 1.5 inches. I always like to work with 1.5 inches, but there are other ways to mark your crotch extension. But when it comes to native like this, no matter the body size, I'll use 1.5 inches. So at this point, I'm going to curve my crotch. So like this. You can use your ruler, your curve ruler. And after that, I'll come up here and slope this point by 1 inch. Then I'll connect it to the normal waistline. So this is what I have here. I slant it by 1 inch. And this is the front panel. Then I'm done with this. I have my box here. So what I'm going to do is to come to the full length. That is the ankle. So this is my ankle line. You can see this is the full length while I take the other part as my hemming allowance. So remember that this is my start line. So from this my start line, I'm going to mark 1 inch. If you like, you can take 1.5 depending on what you are working with. So mine is 1 inch. I'm marking 1 inch here. Then from this 1 inch point, I'll go up by 5 inches like this because I want the trousers to be straight from the ankle up by 5 inches. So at this 5 inches point also, I'm going to mark 1 inch so that when I'm connecting from here to here, it's going to give me a straight line. So this is what I have. Then from here, I'm going to impute my ankle measurement, which is 14 inches. So half of it is 7 inches. So that's what I'm going to mark here, 7 inches. And at the same thing here at this point, 7 inches. And I'll also draw a straight line down. Notice that this end point is not affected because from 5 inches around this point is straight. So I'm not going to bring out the K that I usually bring out in my hem line. Then when I'm done, we are going to move over to the knee line. At this knee line, I'm going to mark half of an inch. Remember at this point, I marked, at the ankle point, I marked 1 inch. Then at the knee line, I'm going to mark half of an inch. Then I will connect this half of an inch to this point here, to this point that I marked earlier, like this. Then from this point here, from this half of an inch, I'm going to impute my round knee measurement. And my round knee measurement is 18 inches. So 18 inches divided by 2 is giving me 9 inches. And that is what I'm going to mark here. 9 inches from this point to this point. Remember, from this half inch point to this point, I'm marking 9 inches. Then I'll go ahead and connect this 9 inches to this other point here. You can also use another method that is called midpoint method. There are some methods that you locate the midpoint of your trousers and then you can mark on both sides. So this particular method is not a midpoint method. So let's proceed. Now, at this point, I'm going to just connect it directly from this point here to this point. So this point I left half of an inch, then this other point I'm not going to leave anything, I'm just connecting it directly to this point. Okay, then this other side I will do the same using my hip curve ruler. So I want it to give me a slightly curvy look. All right, so by doing so, I am done with drafting the front panel. Let us move over to the back panel, but before then, let me just cut it out. Now, in other trousers, you would likely shape the waist, but the difference between elastic waist trousers and other trousers is that you are not going to shape the waist. So whatsoever you have at this point, that's the waistline, is what you have in your crotch depth. So that is exactly what you have at your hips point. So we're going to leave this point like this because when you are wearing your trousers, it has to pass through your hips to your waist. As such, we don't need this. We don't need shaping. So without shaping anything, I'm just going to slant it, slope it down. It is always compulsory to slope your clothes to give you that beautiful front part. So this is what we have for the front panel. So you can see this, it's looking beautiful. Let's move over to the back panel. So most people do not know how to manage their fabric. So this video is also going to teach you how to manage your fabric, especially when you are cutting a man's trousers. Now, have you seen the pattern that I use in cutting these trousers? The leg part is in the other side. So when I am cutting the back panel, this is what I'll simply do. I will make sure that I do not touch anything. Remember that this part that I cut before was on fold. This was the open part of the folded fabric. So I'm simply going to lift it up like this, turning the waist part of it to this other side. You can see how I am flipping it over. This is how it is. This is how it is. This is how the cloth is. So what I'm going to do is to turn this waist part of it to face this other side so as to be able to manage my fabric well. Some people do say, oh, one trouser cut is not enough for a trouser. No matter how big the person, no matter how large the measurement is, no matter how big the measurement is, you can still use one trouser cut to cut your fabric. So it's all about managing it. So watch as I'm going to turn it. This other side, I'll just turn it directly like this. And I'm going to place it. So now the down part is going to face this other side. That is one way you manage your fabric. Your down part is going to face this other side, while the upper part will face the other end. So I hope you are learning something from this video. If you are learning something new, just let me know in the comment section that this is the first time of seeing this method. But if you have been doing it, I want to see you write I have been doing it down in the comment section so as to know how many people have been applying this management method or management strategy. Okay, so what we are going to do next is to adjust this point. You see this point here? So I'm going to adjust it to have 1.5 inches to 2 inches space. So I'm not going to just lap it like that. So I'll shift it. And as I'm shifting it, I will measure it to make sure that I have up to 2 inches space here. Then I will arrange the rest of the fabric like this. This method is always very effective. So what you are going to do at this moment is, I'm taking 2 inches. If you were, maybe if you added like 2 inches on this crotch extension, 1.5 extension will be enough for the back. But since I added just 1.5, that is why I'm going to take 2 inches so as to give that the person that is wearing this cloth freedom to be able to lift his leg comfortably. So from this point, I am going to connect it to my knee point. This is my knee line. Remember, from the front, this is the knee line. So I'm going to use my curve ruler and connect it to this 2 inches. So this is the only adjustment I'm going to make from here. The rest of the point is going to remain the same. So let me just cut this out so that you can see how I'm cutting it. So you see, just this is the knee point. So every other thing I'm going to cut it the same, like this. Then I'll curve it to this point like this. I hope you are following it. So this is what I have. There's a difference here. So to ensure that you have equal sides for your both your back and front, you have to confirm. See, you place your tape here at this knee point and measure whatsoever you have at the front. This is 11 inches. Then do the same thing at the back and measure to make sure that you also have 11 inches. So this is where the back is going to fall. So you see, this is 11 inches. And make sure that it is like so. You see, that's the simple trick that people do not know. So when I'm done, I'm going to come up here. See this point? Remember that we sloped it down by 1 inch. So that is where the cloth was initially. Then we slanted it by 1 inch. Then from this point, you may decide to raise it by 1.5 inches, 1 inch, 1.5, or 2 inches, depending on the body size. I keep saying this, depending on the body size. If the person has enough backside and the person is chubby, you may decide to raise it up to 2 inches. So if the person is just an average person, you just stop at 1.5 inches. Then from this 1.5 inches, I'm going to show you what you do. But first of all, let me connect it from here. So this 1.5 inches. Now, note another difference. If it is in corporate trousers, you will have to slant this back. But since this is going to be elastic waist or you're using rope, there is no point of slanting the back because the elastic or the rope is going to gather the cloth already. So all you need to do is just take it straight from this point. Just follow your crotch curve, the front crotch, and take it straight to this point. I am still going to drop the cuff of the back. But for now, let's just finish up in this one. When you come to this waist part, all you need to do is to mark 2 inches here. This 2 inches is going to serve as your seam allowance. Remember, in the front, we did not add any seam allowance. So the seam allowance, all your seam allowances will be in the back. So I'm adding these 2 inches for the seam allowance, which means this is where my waist is going to stop. So I'll connect. So we're going to mark from this point here, 2 inches. And this is what I have. Then, following the normal waistline. Then from this point to this point that I raised it up by 1.5, I'm going to connect the line like this. From here, I'll connect it to these 2 inches. So this is the point here. Then I will also make sure that I mark these 2 inches down to the end of the trousers. Then after marking it, I will now adjust this front panel to the 2 inches markings that I have. I hope you are following it. Okay, so after adjusting it, this is what I have. You can see I have adjusted it to this 2 inches point. So that is going to be my line. So at this point, See this point? I'm going to cuff it now. Remember, the back part must be curvy. Curve it out like this, and that is going to give me my back cuff. It's more curvier than the front. Then the next thing is just to cut it the way it is. Cut it the way it is. Remember, this has no dots upwards to this point, and then I'll follow this curve here. All right, so that is what we have for this video. This is what we have for it. This is the front panel, and this is the back panel. There is no dots. Everything will be taken care of by the gathers, like the gathers on the waist. If you like anything in this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it to as many people as possible, and make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you want to learn in detail how to cut your outfits professionally. Subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell. Don't forget to check on other videos. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now.